Welcome to this month's CNA Monthly in Service. This presentation will be discussing maltreatment, rights, and responsibilities. CHDC Policy IE-10, Prohibition of Harmful Acts to People Served. The Conway Human Development Center prohibits inappropriate treatment in any form or of any nature to individuals receiving services. Persons served by CHDC have the right to be free from treatment or conduct that is harmful to them physically or psychologically. CHDC will do everything in its control to prevent inappropriate treatment of those served at the facility and to report, investigate, and address instances of such activity. In other words, no individual are to be mistreated in any way, shape, or form. It's important that we do nothing that can be construed as maltreatment to the individuals we care for. Protect our residents. We engage our residents in active treatment. As we interact with them, we form bonds, but we also need to promote good relationships with their families and keep our professional distance. As employees, our main responsibility is to keep them safe and protect them from harm. People with intellectual disabilities are historically abused more than other populations. Reporting abuse, maltreatment, or neglect. By law, all CHDC employees are mandated reporters, even off duty. Any awareness of abuse, neglect, or maltreatment should be reported to a supervisor immediately. The only acceptable delay in immediately reporting maltreatment is to ensure that the individual is safe from harm, and then immediate reporting must occur. This also includes any awareness of, allegations of, or witnessed maltreatment by any staff person, volunteer, parent, or guardian. Procedures for reporting. Report any actual or suspected abuse or neglect to a supervisor immediately. Never leave a resident alone with someone who has or might harm them. Physically intervene if necessary. Request additional assistance if necessary. You will be asked to provide details over the phone and then provide a written statement. These are some examples of abuse. Physical abuse is slapping, pushing, spanking, sexual abuse, rough handling, inappropriate lifting. Verbal abuse would be cursing, name-calling, yelling, foul language, belittling, threatening, verbally provoking, discussing a resident's mental or physical conditions in their presence. Raising voice for safety is okay. The use of profane or abusive language, gestures that threaten, intimidate, coerce, ridicule, or demean the individuals at CHDC is not allowed and could lead to termination of employment on the first offense. Neglect is failing to provide necessary treatment, rehabilitation, care, food, clothing, shelter, supervision, or medical services to an endangered or impaired person. Failing to report health problems or changes in health problems or changes in health conditions. Failing to carry out prescribed treatment plans. Some examples of neglect could be leaving the individual alone, not feeding, not reporting abuse, failure to maintain a safe environment such as leaving dangerous chemicals or gloves unsecured, failure to provide increased supervision as described in the safety plan, or failure to provide supervision or care. Staff must be aware of behaviors that might not rise to the level of maltreatment but are still unacceptable. Rough or crude language, raising your voice without good reason, ignoring individuals while giving care, encouraging individuals to soil themselves or their bed rather than assist with personal care. Maltreatment investigations. Investigations will begin promptly after an incident is reported. All alleged violations are thoroughly investigated. Statements will be taken from all witnesses and the staff alleged to have committed the maltreatment or neglect. All staff must prevent further potential abuse while the investigation is in progress. Accused staff will be immediately placed on administrative leave until the investigation is completed. All physical evidence, such as bruises, marks, etc., shall be photographed when an incident is reported, and again, no more than 3 days later. The Human Rights Committee may be asked to assist with investigations and provide recommendations in rare situations. The on-site administrator may defer investigations to the proper entities such as law enforcement, protective service agencies, or Office of Attorney General. When a reported incident is investigated, that report must be communicated to the Office of Long-Term Care by 2 p.m. the next business day. It must also be reported to the DDS Director, the appropriate protective services agency, the Office of Chief Counsel for DHS, and the Office of the Arkansas Attorney General. Confidentiality. All aspects of allegations, reports, and investigations of harmful acts to residents at CHDC are confidential. Verified violations of confidentiality will be subject to discipline under DHS Policy 1084, Employee Discipline. Staff should discuss any issues related to a case of maltreatment or neglect only to supervisors upon immediate reporting, or investigators, supervisors obtaining statements and information about the case. Protection of individuals during investigations. All staff accused or suspected of maltreatment will leave the facility grounds immediately and have no contact with clients until an investigation has been completed. Founded and substantiated charge of harmful acts. The employee is immediately terminated as outlined in DHS Policy 1084, Employee Discipline, and is designated as not eligible for rehire by DHS. Charges could be filed. The employee's name will go on the Central Registry of Abuse, and this is permanent. Failure to report or delay in reporting alleged, suspected, or witnessed harmful acts. The facility administrator will utilize discipline as noted in DHS Policy 1084, Employee Discipline. Staff may be terminated for failure to report or delaying to report maltreatment or neglect. An employee alleged to have committed a harmful act and who is not terminated will be required to attend training that at a minimum covers prevention of harmful acts and reporting requirements. The facility administrator will identify, based on factors identified in a harmful act investigation, other staff required to attend retraining. The facility administrator shall specify the training course or courses and ensure that the documentation of training is maintained. Some important things to keep in mind. We must be sensitive to our residents' needs and their environment. We are to maintain professionalism regardless of the circumstances. We all have bad days occasionally. Do not let your emotions overwhelm your intellect. The only way some of our residents can express their anger is to act out. This is not an excuse to abuse them. Be careful how you play or tease with residents. A lot of residents with behaviors have suffered from some form of trauma. The DHS Policy 1084, Employee Conduct Standards for Compliance. Employees must comply with workplace policies, rules, and all job-related standards and requirements including laws, regulations, judicial and administrative decisions, agency interpretations, and all reasonably related work instructions. Under the DHS Policy 1084 Employee Conduct Standards for Professionalism, employees are expected to perform their jobs in a professional and courteous manner even when provoked. Employees must conduct themselves in a manner that prevents all forms of impropriety, placement of self-interest above public interest, partiality, threats, favoritism, and undue influence. Employees must be alerted to avoid even the appearance of misconduct, personal or financial gain, or conflict of interest. Thank you for your participation. At the conclusion of this presentation, make sure you complete the test and submit it for grading or credit. If you have any questions, call Staff Development at extension 288.